having to reboot his computer 3 times.
No kidding.
Maybe we could sing a song while we wait.
While we're waiting, I did put a new contract on your desks, and I highlighted the changes, additions. On page 2, there's a small addition, and then the rest of the changes are on the last little bit.
We're good?
We'll call them the Baker amendments.
Okay. Maybe we could sing a song while we wait. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
While we're waiting, I did put a new contract on your desks, and I highlighted the changes, additions. On page 2, there's a small addition, and then the rest.
Oh, I'm glad that happened before I brought the gavel down. That was close. That would have messed up the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Now it's real. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we bow our heads and pray to you tonight. First, to thank you for our many blessings and opportunity and responsibility to serve our county. We pray for this assembled board and all gathered here tonight as we make decisions for our constituents of all creeds and colors. We ask for your guidance, Lord, tonight and throughout our tenure to make wise decisions guided by truth, knowledge, and fairness. Help us, Lord, to listen with a clear mind, to work together in harmony, respect, and dignity, to always stand up for what is right and just for all peoples, and to lead with integrity. We pray in your name, Lord. Amen.
We'll continue with a roll call. Supervisor Augustine asked to be excused. And Supervisor Lukes is here virtually, here. Any others? Supervisor Lukes, okay. All others present and accounted for. At this time, would ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Supervisor Wagner, second by Supervisor Swagel. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. At this time, would ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Supervisor Kroll, seconded by Supervisor Haskey. Any questions on that? Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
At this time, it appears we have citizens' input. Clerk or Secretary, Madam.
The board will hear concerns members of the public wish to raise, but will not discuss or take action on any matter until the matter can be placed on an agenda with proper notice to the public. The board welcomes citizens to present their concerns to the board in a professional manner relevant to issues affecting Kewaunee County. Each citizen may take 3 minutes to present their concern, and the board has allotted a total of 20 minutes for this portion of the meeting. Please be mindful the board may halt any disruptive comments and any comments that are threatening, vulgar, or abusive. Servanda Garcia.
Hey everyone, my name is Servando. I was raised in Luxembourg and I currently live in Kewaunee. I graduated from Luxembourg Casco in 2016 and I recently just graduated from St. Norbert College as a biomedical scientist. I'm also a firefighter and an EMT, and I'm also on the ethics committee for Bellin Hospital. And I'm currently applying to medical school. The reason I'm here today is I'm gonna ask for you to think about these two things. The first one is encouraging our community to continue to wear masks. And the second one is allowing teachers to decide whether or not they want to teach from home. So the basic job of a mask is to capture the respiratory droplets, basically the spit that contains the virus. Not only are you protecting yourself when you're wearing a mask, but you're also protecting those around you. What this does is it decreases the viral load, basically how much of virus you're exposed to. The more virus that you're exposed to, the more likely you are to have complications from this disease, including death. So what we really want is to be exposed to as a small amount of the virus as possible to be able to have the best chance of recovering from COVID. The other thing too is that, you know, we wear seatbelts, we have speed limits, we have laws against drunk driving to prevent deaths. You know, we also have to wear clothes to go into a store. So that's basically the equivalence of wearing a mask now. The other thing that I want to talk about too is that teachers should be allowed to decide, you know, whether or not they want to teach from home. This virus can lead to complications other than death. I mean, even if you survive from COVID, you can develop complications such as heart attack or strokes, and that will affect you for the rest of your life. It's not like, oh, well, COVID's over, everything's fine now. You can develop these complications for the rest of your life. And if you believe that it's your choice whether or not you wear a mask, then you should also believe that it should be a teacher's choice whether or not they teach from home or online. And so with this being said, I encourage the board to continue to work with the school district and teachers so that this would be an option for teachers as well. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Others who wish to speak?
Eric Corey.
My name is Eric Corey. I live at N8885 County Road DK. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you my concerns about the Kewaunee County Safety Facility. Safety Facility Committee recommended the County Board accept Phase 2 recommendation option 7 and approve funding to move into Phase 3 schematic design. My understanding that the County Board is now contemplating an informational referendum on whether or not to proceed with the committee's recommendation. I believe a referendum that will raise taxes is very likely to get a no vote. And though I have also been told the board could still proceed after a no vote if they want to, I can't imagine the county board would follow through with the committee recommendation even after a no vote if they were not willing to proceed now. The difference between a no vote and a yes vote is very likely educating the voters to overcome the natural tendency to just say no to anything that increases taxes. And that would be a difficult task. I believe a more practical approach is for elected supervisors to accept the committee's recommendation. If they don't have a better evaluation, approve the funding, and each supervisor educate their constituents as to why the decision to proceed with the committee's recommendation is in the county's best interest. You know that the county is required to take action to resolve the jail issues. The committee has done their work, made their recommendations, and I understand the committee will again reconvene to evaluate the possibility of a phase in construction of option 7. When the committee presents their final recommendation, please approve their recommendation without a referendum and take the appropriate board action to proceed with phase 3 schematic design. Though I realize the board is concerned about raising taxes, I believe they should be more concerned about having the courage to follow through with their own process and take the action on the committee's recommendation. More study and delay will only lead to higher costs in the long run and ultimately higher burden in total. The residents of Kewaunee have elected county board supervisors to make sound decisions based on good information because residents don't have the time and may not have the experience to evaluate all the information involved in decisions of this magnitude. The board selected a capable committee to do the hard work. Experts in this subject matter supported their efforts, and you will soon have a final recommendation. Unless you have evidence that the committee's recommendation is flawed, please don't put this decision on the backs of your constituents when without the information you have, all they understand is they don't like higher taxes. I don't like higher taxes either, but I prefer sound decisions that are in the long-term best interest of the county over lower taxes that mean even higher costs and higher taxes in the future. Thank you. If the chairman would indulge me for just one more minute.
One more.
I would like to thank our County Board Supervisor, Chuck Wagner, for attending all of our Town to Red River Board meetings. And I would encourage all County Board Supervisors to attend their local town board meetings, especially when the County Board is engaged in a decision of this magnitude. I also want to applaud Matt Josky for the leadership he has demonstrated over the past 14 years in getting his people to accomplish what they've accomplished under these extremely difficult circumstances. Thank you for your attention.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone else? We'll move on. Appointments. Kewaunee County Public Safety Facility Study Committee. You have the list. I would be looking for a motion to approve those appointments. Supervisor Kinnard, do we have a motion? Second. From Supervisor Baker. Discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Annual reports and other reports to the board. Violence Intervention Project. Laura Gidley, you would come to the microphone, please.
On behalf of the Violence Intervention Project, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to present to you this evening. The Violence Intervention Project began providing services primarily as a domestic violence organization. Soon after recognizing the commonalities with sexual violence and began providing these services as well. We currently also serve individuals that are impacted by teen dating violence, elder abuse, sex trafficking, and bullying. It is important to acknowledge that these crimes do not have boundaries and impact individuals regardless of gender, age, ethnicity, religion, economic status, educational background, or sexual orientation, and they happen within our community. In 2019, the Violence Intervention Project provided direct services to a total of 277 individuals. This number consists of 138 women, 26 men, and 113 children. Our services include individual advocacy, safety planning, support groups, legal advocacy, medical accompaniment, mental health services, and prevention education. All of these services are free and confidential and available in both English and Spanish. I would like to highlight some aspects of the work that we do. Advocates provided services to 113 children in 2019. An advocate will assist youth with creating their own safety plan, education, support groups, network of individuals, and resources that can also assist them. These services can also be provided at school facilities. The staff at the Violence Intervention Project believe that education is key to making informed decisions and breaking generational cycles of abuse. In 2019, prevention educators provided 141 presentations on bullying, sexual harassment, sexting, sexual assault, teen dating violence, healthy relationships, and bullying to public and parochial schools and daycares to a total of 3,244 children. Our organization has experienced an increase in individuals over the age of 60 accessing services. Last year, we provided 19 individuals over 60 with these services. When reviewing the relationships of the individuals that used violence in these specific situations, it was a combination of intimate partner violence and abuse by adult children. We are in the process of obtaining feedback from survivors and possibly expanding these services. The Violence Intervention Project received a grant award in October of 2019 that allowed us to create a partnership with Innovative Services for the provision of mental health services. This award has given us the opportunity to provide therapy to victims free of charge within Kewaunee County. From January 1st, 2020 through July 31st, 2020, we were able to provide 25 individuals with 330 therapy sessions. This funding will be available to our organization and our community for the next 4 years and hopefully beyond if we can show the continued need for this service. In 1999, the Violence Intervention Project began our Transitional Living Program. The Transitional Living Program offers the opportunity to provide short-term housing for up to 9 individuals. The program benefits victims and survivors who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless due to domestic violence or sexual assault. The TLP allows individuals and families to work towards achieving long-term goals, including recovering from violence, financial stability, education, and careers. This program creates experiences that challenge societal norms of violence and create avenues of safety, ultimately resulting in the ability to sustain self-sufficiency. This program is vital to victims and their children when choosing alternatives to an abusive situation. In 2019, VIP provided 994 nights of stay to 7 women and 9 children. Since the inception of the TLP, VIP has provided 18,079 nights of stay for 70 women and 107 children. The Safe Alternatives Visitation and Exchange Services, which was established in June of 2005, SAVES provides services to parents and children experiencing or at risk due to domestic violence, sexual abuse, and child neglect. The safety and emotional health of children are a primary concern, and staff is essential in maintaining a safe and healthy and natural environment. The belief that everyone has a right to feel safe is a core principle of VIP and is reflected in the SAVES program that supports all families in their right to attain safety and security. Since the inception of the SAVES program, SAVES has provided a total of 2,924 safe visits and exchanges. In 2019, SAVES served 6 women, 5 men, and 19 children, providing a total of 99 visits and exchanges. As a service provider in Kewaunee County, we have worked to establish effective partnerships, procedures, referral processes, and create opportunities for successful transitions out of abusive situations. I believe these relationships have integrated an awareness into common areas of concern, promoting safety, health, and well-being throughout Kewaunee County. Recent examples of partnerships include providing school districts and the coordinated community response team with education on sex trafficking, working with law enforcement jurisdictions on the completion and reporting of the lethality assessment screen for intimate partner violence, and continued efforts in providing victim-centered response for sexual assault victims. Like others, in March, the Violence Intervention Project had to navigate what this pandemic looked like for our clients and staff. VIP was very fortunate to receive a grant in January that updated technology at our facility and included the expense of Zoom services. This gave us the capability of being able to offer virtual services as an option almost immediately. However, we did experience a decline in services during the Safer at Home order and knew that this was not because individuals were not experiencing abuse, but rather had limited accessibility to obtain services. This year, through the end of July, we have provided services to 178 individuals. The Violence Intervention Project is a nonprofit organization and receives funding through state and federal grants, support from Kewaunee County. We rely on fundraising events and community donations. Like many nonprofit organizations, COVID-19 has created significant barriers in achieving fundraising goals, and this year has had to modify our budget. The support that the Violence Intervention Project receives from Kewaunee County is significant. These funds are utilized for general operation expenses and meeting program needs. Kewaunee County funds are also utilized as a source of match for our grant funding. This support also shows the community that the county believes in our mission to create change by offering help, building hope, and supporting families and communities impacted by violence. Without this funding, the scope of our services would be impacted negatively. Although VIP has had many accomplishments, we still have much more to achieve and can only proceed with the continued support of our community. I'll now open it up for any questions.
Any questions for Laura? Okay, I would encourage anybody who happens to be up in Algoma to arrange to take a tour of the place there. I was up there and it's quite interesting for sure. And they do a lot of good work. Moving on, Kewaunee County Administrator Report. Mr. Felt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one small item. I did place in front of each of you in your places the budget calendar, just to give all county board supervisors kind of a proposed timeline as to the 2021 county budget process. As you see, what will happen is in the September meeting, the county administrator will present his proposed budget to the county board. And then after that proposal, the finance committee and personnel committees will be able to make changes. Those standing committees that have issues can also bring those issues to the finance committee and to the personnel committee, depending on whether they are staff issues or whether they are funding issues. But we hope to have, knock on plastic, everything done and the county board approving the 2021 budget on November 10th. As always, there's a number of new members, so if any of you have any questions regarding specific department budgets, the process in general, anything in that respect, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Finance Director Paul Kunish, and we can provide you as much information as you require. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for the administrator? Very well. We will move on to committee reports. Highway Solid Waste Committee. You have the minutes. You should have them. Any questions on Highway Solid Waste? Executive Committee. Public Health and Veterans Committee. Any questions?
I have some questions and comments.
Mr. Lukes, yes, sir.
It was brought to my attention last week by the superintendent of Algoma that contact tracing was not being done completely. However, I talked to Scott and I forget the other person that he was with. The county nurse was not there, but he did assure me that contact tracing was being done. I am currently in quarantine because I came into contact with somebody that tested positive with COVID-19. However, our county nurse has left the country and she has come back into the country, and the CDC guidelines for leaving the country recommends travelers avoid all non-essential international travel to Mexico. But she has come back and she has not quarantined. And I feel there's a double standard when the chief person in this county that's telling the rest of the county residents how they should be conducting themselves. She has a different view on how she conducts herself. So that's my comment.
Any other questions?
What committee are you on? I mean, what committee are you discussing?
Public Health and Veterans.
Which one?
Public Health and Veterans.
Oh, because I had a question on the executive.
We can come back to that if there are no, under Public Health and Public Health and Veterans. I'm assuming Cindy would like to give a report on, or would you like to give any further update on COVID, anything COVID related at this time? I see the cases dropped.
The cases are getting a little bit better.
I mean, active, sorry.
So we are at 146 cases currently right now. Of that 146, we have 11 that are active cases that we're following. There was a recent outbreak in in a certain group of people within the Algoma area. It was young adults that took a trip. And so we had a spike in cases about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago from that. All contact tracing on that was followed up on. So all positives have been followed and all their contacts have been followed. 19 young adults took a trip. And of those 19, 16 tested positive. Of those 16 positive, 11 were from our county. So that's why about a week and a half ago, you saw a spike up in those cases. That is coming down right now. Other than that, all contact tracing is up to date. We are managing the contact tracing very well within our agency. We have no trouble. We currently have 5 contact tracers that are working actively on cases. And I think that's all I have for the report as far as where we're at currently.
Any questions? Can you tell me why, am I wrong, the case number, active cases, it seems like it hovers right at about 10, or was. I mean, then we had that spike, of course, and now it seems to be back down by that number. Is there any rhyme or reason why, or is it just me watching those, looking at those
I
reports
think
wrong?
it's because we average 1 to 2 cases a day, and then they serve their quarantine for 10 to 14 days. So,
Okay.
you're constantly seeing 1 to 2 come off each day as they're released from quarantine. And it just does really kind of hover right around that number.
So outside of that situation that you spoke of, it does seem to be very consistent, that number
Yeah,
then.
we've been very consistent with
Okay.
1 to 2 a day for the most part.
Okay, so I'm not misreading that then.
No.
Okay. Okay,
Thank
thank you. We'll back up to Executive Committee for Linda.
Thank you for going back.
Not a
On the
problem.
July 6th Executive Committee minutes, on the second page, where it talks about the approval of the purchase of the voting machines.
Yes,
where it says county for buying machines in 2021 from 8,440 to 6,600. Can the word each be added behind there? Oh, thank you for turning that up.
Absolutely, Supervisor Teske.
Okay, thank you.
Was that it under executive? We'll move on to UW Extension Committee. Any questions on extension? Land and Water Committee. Any questions? Public Safety and Justice Committee. Any questions? Finance and Public Property Committee. Any questions? I do want to comment on finance. I was at their meeting for a long time. And I have to say, on the one hand, Supervisor Baker, I can see he's laughing behind the mask. On the one hand, it was a bit excruciating. On the other hand, I have to say, I was very pleased and impressed to see how involved the Finance Committee is and the questions they're asking and the oversight that they're providing with the county finances. So I was very, asking some really good questions and really on top of things there. I'll just make sure that next time I come to those meetings, I have a bigger breakfast. Human Services Committee. Any questions? Parks Promotions and Maintenance Committee. Business Development Loan Fund, yes, sir. Oh, Linda, sorry, I did have missed
That's
you.
all right. Was there a date given for that electronics recycling in the fairgrounds? Is there a date been set?
All that there was a request if they could do it, and we haven't heard anything back from them. That sheet you saw, that there was a group of guys that do it, and the committee was just asked if it was okay to do it, and we said yeah, and
But there's no date set?
no.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Thank you, Supervisor Yonke. Any other questions for Supervisor Yonke? Okay. Business loan development, yes? Oh. you
How are
got
the
a
buildings
little-
coming, you ask?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Down at Bremer Park, the warming shelter shell is there. The innards have to be put together yet, like the bathrooms and all that stuff. The ice skating rink, waiting for excavation for that. And in the fairgrounds here, if you take a ride back there by the barns, you can see the new show pavilion. And I guess we're just waiting for electrical and lights to be put in yet.
Oh, very good. I'm glad I'm glad I asked that because I had actually, that in the midst of the COVID, that warming shelter and the ice skating rink that had kind of, been, forgotten about, I guess, in the midst of other things. That'll be a very exciting addition there. And I think will really benefit that whole area, the Winter Park area and the county, and bring in more people once things finally settle down and people are a little less skittish. I know Supervisor Yonke has been sharpening his skates. And, any other?
Hockey skates too.
Yeah, well, I'm not getting out on the rink with you with a stick. Any other questions for Supervisor Yonke? None that I can think of. Okay. Business Development Loan Fund Committee, haven't met, nothing there. KCEDC, nothing. Broadband Study Committee, I don't believe that they have met. They have a meeting scheduled. Does somebody?
It is scheduled for the last week of August. I believe it's the 28th at 4:30.
Excellent. Mr. Widener is moving right along on that, so that's good.
Where's the location of that meeting? I hadn't heard that the meeting had been set.
We typically have it in the Human Services Training Room at the Public Health and Human Services Building.
Okay, any other questions on broadband? Other than, for bug tussle when we get to the contracts, we'll save that for Mr. Weed later. Public Safety Facility Study Committee, they can't possibly have anything to report at this time unless I don't think there is anything there. So, okay. Recess. You've had your recess. Enough recess. We're driving on. I'm told recess has to be very carefully monitored during these COVID times, so we're going to stay away from that. First reading of ordinance, I see none, correct? Move on then to consideration of resolutions. Ready for the first one.
Sorry, a resolution approving purchase of voting machines. Fiscal impact, $122,745 total cost of the machines. $68,362 local contribution. So $54,383 total county cost. Will have to be included in 2021 budget or budget transfer.
Okay, you have that resolution. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Supervisor Ramden, motion. Supervisor Kroll, second. Discussion. Supervisor Swaggle.
Do we have to handle that now? Where it says they'll last for 2 more years, or they won't be able to repair them after 2 years, so it needs to be put in the budget or next year's budget now?
Who would like to speak to that?
You want me to?
I would like you to.
Yeah, I would.
If you have an answer.
Sure. So the reason we are asking now is because we were able to take advantage of a group purchase with other counties. Basically, as of 2022 will be the last year these machines will be maintained. So we knew it was coming, and we're saving a significant amount by doing this purchase now. That is why it was decided to do now. We knew it was coming down the pipe, but we kind of sped it along because of this discount.
Okay. That answers the question.
Any other questions? You have the motion before you, motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next resolution.
A resolution approving personnel policies, military leave policy.
Do I have a motion to?
I so moved to.
Second.
All right, everybody's jumping on that one. Supervisor Swagel, motion. Supervisor Vollenweider, second. Discussion? I wonder how this one, yes, sir.
I would guess, I thought this was always a policy of basically everybody, if you went on military duty, that we wouldn't have to make a motion, that it was well-written for a long time. I guess not if we have a resolution for it, but.
I can answer.
Yes, please, Mr. Feld.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What we have had in our personnel policy for a number of years is actually military leave policy, but that was usually for your 2-week annual. We have an employee that has actually been called up and going on a deployment for over a year. And our personnel policy did not entail something when you had a deployment of that time period. And so the reason that we put this forward is so that way there's clarity for any employee who would be deployed for a long period of time. We've always had it for the 2 weeks and for the 2 days, but never for a long-term deployment.
Oh, your policy needs to be updated or for that purpose. Okay.
Any other questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Next motion, a resolution.
A resolution authorizing reduction in school liaison contract with LC School District. Loss of revenue, $25,809.80.
Do I have a motion? Supervisor Masteler, second by Supervisor Haskey. Discussion, and by the way, Supervisor Lukes, I apologize if you've been trying to get in any way. I keep forgetting to look to my right to see you. You're kind of, so if you have something to questions, just chime in. You're kind of like my daughter's cat right now. I set her
That's all
down,
right.
out of sight, out of mind. Uh, Do we have any?
Until she scratches you, yes.
You might have figured out, Supervisor Lukes, when people aren't here physically present and able to get at me, I like to have fun with them.
Any other discussion?
That's right.
Do we have any discussion on that resolution? Questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Next resolution. Sorry,
Was that a nay?
where was that? Did I hear a nay? Did you?
I did.
Was there a nay?
I just think that
Is it an echo?
Supervisor Luke's, there's a delay. So I think he said
Were you a yay or nay, Mr. Supervisor Lukes?
I was a yay,
Yay.
Thank you.
a yay.
Okay. Well, okay, we'll move on then. Glad we got that cleared up.
A resolution approving broadband expansion grant and contracts with Bug Tussle Wireless LLC. Fiscal impact statement, $960,000 grant from PSC, $600,000 contribution from Bug Tussle in cash and labor, $960,000 loan to Bug Tussle at 3% interest. Total project budget, $2,520,000. Projected interest income of $197,323 over the 12-year term of the loan.
Do I have a motion? Supervisor Wagner. I have a second from Supervisor Lazansky. At this time, I'm going to have Mr. Weed, if you would come to the microphone, as I am expecting there are most assuredly going to be some questions and discussion. And we'll want to make sure that somebody with the proper expertise is on deck. Questions? Supervisor Romden.
There's a number of references on the first page, at the bottom of the page, about all the attachments to the agreement. Where are they?
All the attachments, so attachment A is project scope, that should be within your materials. Attachment B is the project budget. Again, that should be in your materials. C is the promissory note. I believe that's there as well. And attachment D, that one may not be with your materials. So what's going to happen is Bug Tussle builds out these towers and adds equipment to the towers. We will make a schedule of all the equipment, towers and equipment. And once that equipment and towers is filled out and we can put it on our schedule, that will form Schedule D, which is the schedule of collateral.
Was there anything, Mr. Weed, is there anything that you wanted to add additionally other than the information we already have before us?
I guess what I would add, first of all, I was moved when we started the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I have not done that in a long time. And it reminded me of being a kid with my grandfather who was served in the Army, and he was very proud. And if I didn't put my hand on my heart, I got scolded.
I'm very thankful that we have a board where everybody stands and shows respect for our flag and support for our nation. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I certainly, I don't want to get off track, but you know, when you watch the news and you watch too much of the news at night, it feels like dark days in this country. We've got a lot of fear.
Kewaunee County is a little slice of heaven.
Yeah, well, I think so. You know,
You should consider moving.
Well, I don't live far from here, but you know, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, you know, people are afraid. There's a lot of isolation going on. We can't visit loved ones in nursing homes. You can't visit people in the hospital when they're sick. We can't get together on Sundays. And that alone is difficult, of course, for everybody to deal with. And add to that, you look at some of our great cities that seem to be crumbling before our eyes with people who would never stand at attention for a United States flag. And it should remind everybody, and I certainly feel humbled by that, that we are happy to be partnering with a community like Kewaunee County in trying to do our small part to try to spur economic development, try to do what we can to help keep people Thank you. Is that better?
You just stand at attention.
Yeah. Help do what we can to keep people better connected. Certainly from our perspective, we would like this whole lockdown, shutdown thing to go away as soon as possible. However, there are going to be reasons for people to work from home, to do healthcare from home, to do school from home, regardless of whether you've got a situation like we have with COVID or not. The important thing for us and the kind of company we are, and I think the kind of community that Kewaunee is we've got an obligation as we watch parts of the country seem to fall apart. We've got an obligation and a duty to keep moving and to keep building and to keep jobs going and to keep the economy going. And that's a big part of what we've tried to do. We have not missed a day of work. We have kept building towers and working on fiber projects throughout the state of Wisconsin since this started. In fact, we've hired people during this. That's something that we're proud of. And it's certainly something that we want to continue to do. Our work in Kewaunee County is not just an assignment. We don't consider ourselves just a contractor. We consider ourselves a partner of the community, and that's what we intend to be. We're not going to build and leave and you won't be able to find us. We're going to have ourselves on every single one of the towers, and our people are going to be here selling and servicing throughout the entire community. We were very happy when we were approached by Kewaunee to look at the issue of lack of broadband, lack of digital connectivity. We were happy to work on the design and happy to partner on the application with the PSC. We were certainly grateful that the Public Service Commission saw worthy to grant this project $960,000. And we are appreciative of Kewaunee's potential commitment to loan us $960,000. It's a lot of money. We intend to pay back every penny, of course. We've got it on a 12-year schedule. In the end, we believe that Kewaunee will be a stronger community because of this connectivity. We really believe that. We've seen that in other communities around the state. It's a big part of who we are. So we're just excited to get started. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that anybody has. We don't have final sites selected, but we've got designs that we have worked on. We had an initial design that looked for 7 new towers to be built in Kewaunee, and we could still do that design. As we've spent more time looking at it, we felt like that might leave some gaps, especially on the western end, the western side of Kewaunee. So we've been working with the county and with some other current tower owners to see if we could co-locate some of our sites on existing towers. And so one alternative plan that we're at least thinking about is that we would build 6 new towers. We would purchase a tower that actually sits here in Luxembourg, and we would co-locate on 5 other towers in the county, including 2 that the county owned. That would, we believe, provide the most expansive coverage for the entire county, and it would also address some of the concerns we had about covering the west side of Kewaunee. So that's the current kind of design alternative that we're looking at. We certainly want feedback, and I know we've got a meeting scheduled. I want to correct you, it's actually August 27th at 4:30.
That's what I said.
At 610 Lincoln Street, I believe. So I don't know how well people can see that up there.
Oh, I think when people look at this get up back here, they wouldn't, they might wonder why we need further technology. This is nice. So do you have any comment? Are there any questions on this? Yes, sir.
So in reviewing the agreement and the many legal documents we have in front of us, it spells out pretty clearly on reimbursement for equipment, actual purchases, labor, and that sort of thing. My question a while back was, what exactly is going to be a benchmark of success? So how are we able to say, okay, we've got these towers in the air and we're supposed to get 25 up, 25 down, or whichever it is. How are we going to be able to measure that as successfully completed project? And how is that spelled out in the contract?
Yeah, well, certainly from our end, a successful project is going to be that we get all of the installations done in less than a year from now. That's our goal. We would love to see all the installations done sometime near the end of the first quarter of 2021. So from a timing standpoint, that's our goal. Now, we can't control things like Mother Nature or government changes, things like that. But it's a tight schedule, but it's one that we think we can meet. So certainly the timing of the installation is important, and we are committed to getting it done as quickly as we can. From a quality standpoint, our goal is to make sure that we're providing the coverage that's laid out in these propagation maps, and that can't be judged until we get the equipment in the air and we start doing drive testing, and we make sure that we can get a signal in every location. We may have to tweak the antennas a little bit and shape some things, but our goal is to make sure that we can get the coverage that's laid out in the propagation map of the final design. In terms of the contract, I'll kind of defer back to you guys. We're happy to meet any commitment you want to give us. We know that we're going to deliver these services. We know that we can get this done in a reasonable amount of time.
I'm just curious if that would be something spelled out in the contract, a reasonable display of success with, when you're doing your testing 4 miles radius out, are you getting those signals properly? And then at that phase 1 payment, you would then be successfully completed and we could make payment accordingly. Otherwise, is it just going to be the tower is there? We'll worry about testing and quality later. If it's not in the contract, we can't enforce it.
Mr. Wisnicki or Mr. Felt, do you have anything to add on that or clarify?
I can try, Mr. Chair. From the contract that we had put in and from the added language, there's a few different things that we believe that we can use as performance measures. Again, probably the most obvious of which we've already talked about is the construction of the requisite number of towers. There is also then within there, barring any type of technical issues, that Bug Tussle will be offering speeds of 25 up and 5 down at a rate of $49.99 per month. In that same respect, that there will not be an oversubscription rate per the towers. So then that's all well and good, and I think I know what the next question would be after that, Supervisor Vollenweider, is okay, now that the towers are up, the other part, because this is part of the what Bug Tussle had proposed when they first gave their grant to the PSC, is from those propagation maps and those coverage maps, is that then can they provide those speeds within those areas? And therefore, we would request and require from Bug Tussle to be able to show us that within those areas that the speeds are being provided as were promised in the application.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Supervisor Swagel.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I said back when we had Mr. Schneider here, why, and now talking to neighbors and friends and people in the community, someone told me that satellite or companies putting satellites up in the sky can provide this just as well. And he said in several years, now I don't know what several years is, towers would be obsolete. Is there anything to that? Can be all provided by satellites?
Mr. Weed, please answer that.
I don't know.
Sure, happy to. Obviously, I've got a bias. I work for a fixed wireless broadband company. The satellites have been around for, decades. And satellites have been capable of providing services like this for decades. You see companies like HughesNet, and there's some other companies that do provide, wireless connections via satellite. I'm not talking specifically about HughesNet, but the problem that we've seen in the industry is it can't defeat the laws of physics. Information has to travel a long distance up and back down, which creates latency, which is delay, that is very hard to deal with, especially on things like streaming videos, streaming video games, live teleconferences. Latency is the enemy of wireless communication. And that has been the problem that there has been with satellites. Will people continue to try? Absolutely. We don't believe that towers will be obsolete in a matter of years. We've been able to structure finance deals with large private equity firms in California, New York, Florida, who all love this business and they're in it for the long haul. So the deals that we've structured with them, we're looking out 15, 20 years on our planning with them. So they don't see an end or an obsolescence of towers at this point, and neither do we. We think that this is still going to be the single best way to reach rural customers unless and until fiber can make that last mile. We don't know if that's ever going to happen in every community across the country, but it will continue to expand. We do fiber. You know, we've presented some ideas to the county, and we'll talk to the broadband committee about those. We think there's definitely a place for that, but it's very expensive to make that last mile with fiber. And that's why we think a combination of a fiber backhaul ring along with wireless towers is the answer, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and that would be the, you included that in your answer. That would be the next phase, and there is going to be grants for that, would be to bring the fiber to the towers, and that would further improve service to the county, correct?
That is correct. You know, our thought there is it would be good for the county to have a good fiber backbone that connects our towers, connects the county's towers, and also connects to any important county asset, building, voting center. You know, those are things that we think will continue to be important, especially in rural areas.
I do find it interesting as well that they canceled my cable. You can no longer, they pulled that out of the village, and I was forced to go to satellite television. And I'll tell you what, if anybody is trying to sell you satellite over cable, I have been angry since the day they did that to me. The cable was far superior.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Supervisor Baker, please.
Assuming we have towers up and you've proven the coverage is uniform around the towers, will terrain or vegetation still prevent people within that range from getting a good signal? And if that was the case, what would be your remedy to those people?
The answer to the question is yes. So we're employing what's called cambium technology, which is a very robust, strong signal, but it requires line of sight. We have difficulty if you get into, tremendously hilly areas or high vegetation areas with line of sight. There are ways around that. Usually on the receiving end, we can put micro pops, which would be, a short tower, 20, 30 feet that could connect an entire neighborhood. So those are some answers we have. In Kewaunee, for the most part, we feel pretty good with our propagation maps that we can hit what we've described on those maps. And we do that with a service that our partner Cambium provides. So they can take a spot on the ground anywhere in the county, and they can tell you what height do you need to be in order to have line of sight to this tower with the Cambium antenna at 295 feet. And so we know before we even get to a home, are we going to have to get up above a tree line? Can we go on a roof there? Can we put a small little thing off of the mailbox to try to get line of sight? So we can't guarantee that we will hit everybody. Vegetation, hills can be a problem for us. The ways we work around them is micro pops, mini towers. We can get height at the landowner's property if they're willing to work with us on that. The other thing that we've worked on in the past is we've developed a way, if we can find a larger group of homes that's difficult to get to, we can put a small micro pop that nobody owns or pays for, we pay for it, and then that can broadcast into that entire neighborhood. So those are some ways that we've been able to work around it. And there are always challenges for our guys. There's no doubt about it in some areas. So we want to always get everybody. Some of them are challenges. But our company is a can-do, so we don't want to hear, nope, we can't do that. Find a way. And we've been pretty successful.
That would, to go back just momentarily to the satellite issue, I've had quite a few people contact me in the village, you know, and those satellite options are available, yet people are very displeased. And, you know, there's one of my neighbors just down the street from me has a sign made up that says, call the village board and demand better internet. And I'm just thankful that it says, call the village board, not the county board. Isn't that right, Supervisor Peisler? And so I didn't bother them, you know, since they left it at that. But I do have, you know, so those things are there, but yet people, they're, you know, there are a lot of problems even in the village here. And so that leads me to the question I have. It's rather self-serving, or not just self-serving, but you did say you're going to be able to provide service in the village. And the questions I'm getting is coverage, first of all. What part of the village will you be able to cover? What speed? And what will be the cost that you charge them? Up, down speeds? I don't understand all of it. I use the internet. I don't understand much about it. I'm told that if this, you know, if you would get this up adequately, I wouldn't have to play Pac-Man on my Atari anymore. So if you could explain that, that would be very helpful. Coverage of the, you know, coverage, speed, cost, and time frame.
I missed, what municipality were you referring to?
Where you're at, where you're standing.
Oh,
The village of Luxembourg.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we feel really good about the coverage in the village of Luxembourg. So there's a tower in town here on Lonnie Vincent's property. I forget which direction it is, but this way, we're in the process of working out a deal. We're going to purchase that tower from him if everything goes together. And so that's a good spot that we think will provide very robust coverage by itself in Luxembourg. But we also have some surrounding towers that will spill over the coverage to connect to parts of Luxembourg that smaller tower might miss. So we feel pretty strongly that we can provide really good service for.
What can you define really good or robust? What is that?
Well, I'm a lawyer, not an engineer, but I'm going to do my best.
Pretty robust,
Yeah.
but you know.
I mean, we can provide services up to 100 meg. Now, most people don't want that. Typically, people are looking for, if you're a single user, somewhere around 5. If you've got two people in the house, something like 9.6. If you've got 3 users, maybe 15. If you've got 4 users and you use it quite a bit, 25 megs is going to be probably the best plan. We can provide all those speeds, but we can also go up to 100 megs.
So that would be a business. And I've been asked that too. That would be a business plan.
Typically
at
that,
100. And
yes.
what would you typically be looking at for cost on the 25 and then the 100?
On the 25, we're committed to the price of $50 a month.
And then the 100?
Which is a discounted fee.
Yeah.
We obviously charge more than that, but we consider this a partnership with the county, and we're committing to $50 a month at those speeds
Sure.
for 5 years.
What would you charge for a business plan of 100?
It would probably be, I don't want to get myself in
Roughly,
trouble,
I
but it
mean,
would
that's-
probably be in the neighborhood of about $120.
Okay, yeah,
For-
I mean, just
for that
roughly.
level.
I mean, nobody's recording this.
No.
That's very helpful, though. I appreciate that very much. Other questions? Supervisor Baker and then Supervisor Yonke.
So will weather cause a problem with the signal as well?
Typically, with satellite, weather can be really cause a lot of interference and a lot of problems.
Cloudy days are bad.
Typically, weather alone, unless it damages the equipment on either end, typically weather is not a problem. Now, in a torrential storm of some kind, any extreme situation I can't really speak to, but our experience has been that our service holds up very well. We have one of the highest rated networks that AT&T assesses on a regular basis. They look to see that if any of our network is down, because most of our towers have AT&T along with bug tussle, and we consistently rate near the top in terms of 0 or next to 0 service interruptions. So we've got a really good record, and obviously there's a lot of bad weather in Wisconsin, but we typically have not run into problems.
Okay, excellent, because I can tell you with my satellite, I mean, I always joke cloudy days, rainy days, sunshine. Supervisor Yonke.
You said it's line of sight, so a guy should really keep his old silos, right?
Silos are fantastic
Okay.
spots, yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Yonke. Other questions? Supervisor Baker.
With the new agreement, maybe this is for Mr. Woznicki, with the new agreement, is it clear which ones of the new towers or the new equipment and areas get the favorable rate?
Right, so this is, we have a grant from the PSC for 7 towers. And we're also proposing to lease a couple of towers to Buck Tussle, so potentially 9 towers, potentially.
Correct.
Those towers are subject to this agreement and the favorable rates in all its terms. If Buck Tussle has some tower somewhere else in the county that they independently put up on their own, we have no control over that tower.
Yes, sir.
If to us, it completely depends on how much rent we have to pay on those other towers. You know, we know what our deal is with Kewaunee County, and so we're comfortable moving forward. But when we're locating on third-party towers, you know, unless they're willing to work with us on discounting their monthly rent to us, it's difficult for us to pass that along. It just doesn't pencil out. So we're going to do our best. We are going to go to these companies that own them and say, hey, this is part of, there's public grant money in this. There's a community that has, loaned a large portion of this. We consider this a partnership. We would appreciate it if you would look at this as, a slightly different deal than we would typically have. That's certainly what we will try to do. And if we can do that, great. We'd be happy to extend that around the county.
But
yes,
are those towers in addition to what Mr. Woznicki just described?
Correct. They are pledging to build 7 towers, according to this agreement.
The original plan was 7 towers.
7 towers, that's the plan right now. Now, they're exploring potential alternatives, but that's not before you today. If in a month or two that becomes a reality, we'll be back before the board and say they came up with a different plan for 6 towers. They think they can configure it a little differently. But as of today, if we do nothing else, they're pledging to build 7 towers. They're also proposing to lease 2 of our towers, the one at Norman, at the Carlton Town Hall, and one at the landfill.
Right.
The West Kewaunee Tower. So those 7 towers plus the 2 they're leasing from, they are agreeing to these terms and rates and speeds.
Okay.
And can you give, I know it's hard to give an exact number, but can you give, what do you envision, what percentage of the population of the county that wants improved, internet access? What percentage do you ultimately believe that you'll be able to serve?
It really is a difficult question because
That's why I ask it.
It depends upon, the speeds that people want. If 100 people next to a tower all said they wanted 100 megs, that doesn't leave us a lot of room, to go out with more. We think that our coverage does a pretty good job of blanketing the county in terms of what percentage of people could get the service if they wanted it. I think it's going to be a really high percentage. I think we're kind of early in the process. We'd have to, I'm happy to dig into that as we move along. I don't know how to answer that right now because it just depends on a lot of factors, and I'm going to get in trouble with my engineers.
I understand.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I will note if I can, if we find that one tower is getting, a lot of people signed up. We get 80, 100, 200 people who want to be on that tower and they all want higher speeds. There's ways for us to upgrade the equipment and bring more antennas. So that would be an excellent problem for us to have. I mean, we would love to have one of our towers get overloaded so that we would have to add additional equipment to the tower. Obviously, that would be at our expense and we'd be happy to spend it. So our goal is to get it to anybody who wants it in the community. That's always been our goal.
Okay. Other questions? Yes, Supervisor Baker.
Just had a lot of questions.
Okay. We got a lot of time.
Section 18, maintenance, this is for Mr. Woznicki. Maintenance and then insurance. It says that Bug Tussle shall maintain the property and provide insurance for the property, and it references during the term of this agreement. What is the term of this agreement?
Well, they have to build the towers within the performance period, which is 2 years. But there's also a promissory note that goes out 12 years. So as long as that promissory note is in effect, they have to maintain and insure our collateral.
Did you have a question? Was there another one over here? Supervisor Romden.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. There's a lot of stuff in this agreement. And I think Jeff did an excellent job in putting it together. And I think the people of the county are well protected if the board adopts this agreement.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Woznicki. Yes, Supervisor Yonke.
I don't have a question either. I do have a comment. In the town of Montpelier, they're looking actively at 2 sites to cover, our western side of the county. So I know that they're doing that. I offered some land that the town has, but it's not quite wide enough. They need 360 feet for a footprint.
There's a big
Circular?
vacant.
Right, it has to do with the fall zone of the tower. So regulations require that the tower fall inside the land that you're leasing. Sometimes you can get exceptions to that if you have the tower engineered to fall into a smaller area. They can do that with the towers. And that's something that we do look at if we can't find a large enough plot.
There is a nice area on AB that you could talk to him about. I cannot. So anyway.
I think I know where you're talking.
Any other, the sheriff's sitting here. I can't want any conflicts of interest. Any other questions? I want to say before we vote on this, I just want to kind of summarize. This is a $960,000 grant. This money, we've been over this quite a few times, and this money is going to be spent. I do not agree with, the state and the federal government's spending, money in these ways. I think these are things that I think they could be handled differently, but I don't control that part of the game. That money is going to be spent. If it's not spent, we're very fortunate to get that money here. If that money's not spent here, this money is guaranteed. It's going to some other part of the state. And along with the portion of it that we paid in, and we would not be getting, I'm sorry, but I don't see how we would be serving the people of our county well if we did not take advantage of that. I know there's a lot of questions. People think, there's some, it won't work. It won't work. I don't understand that argument. Depend. I guess you have to define what do you mean by it won't work. Well, there may be some 90-year-old lady out in the middle of a cornfield somewhere that can't, in a valley that can't get access or whatever. But this is going to undoubtedly, guaranteed, it is going to help a certain a portion of the county, a certain percentage of the county. And we, at the same time, are going to actually be making money on it. We'll be getting 3% interest on a loan. You can't get that right now. And that 3% interest, they're going to walk. I don't know where they would go, but even if they did, we have collateral that would be worth more than that loan. So that loan is secured in that regard. So I just wouldn't understand a vote against this, I guess, because even if you don't, even if you don't use the Google or have a computer, there are a lot of people in the county do, and it is essential for businesses. And this will help people in the county with no expense to the county. can't explain it any easier than that. Supervisor Vollenweider feels he can.
So just one addition to that good summary, Mr. Chairman. This is a phase one. So we will be delving into phase two, which we will be looking for the end game of 100% coverage, which I don't know will ever be 100%, but this is a phase one project.
Any other questions before we go to vote? Supervisor Teske?
Since this is a big project that
Yes.
the county is going to work on, do you think it would be advisable that every 2 months, 3 months, Bug Tussle could give a report to the board as to how far they are along or give an
That,
update on the project?
That is an excellent thought. They are going to be present at broadband committee meetings. And I don't, so I mean, we could get the,
We would be happy to come if it.
well, we would be happy to have you. I would be happy to put you on the agenda every 2 to 3 months, avoiding December. I know that, and certain ones, but we would be happy to have you. It is a big project.
It is.
No doubt about it, and important. Any other questions? You have the motion before you? Yes, sir.
I want to make the motion to approve the resolution.
We already had the,
Motion in a second. We've been.
we already had the motion in second. Remind us, who made the motion, who's second? It was so long ago.
Supervisor Wagner moved and Lazansky seconded.
Okay, yes, very good. It was so long ago, I took a nap in between. All right, you have the motion before you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Did you get the two
I was
recorded?
gonna
Show of
ask for-
hands.
I was
all
going
in-
to ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, we could do a roll call vote.
I'll start with Lucas because he is virtual.
Yay.
Baker,
Aye.
Dell.
Aye.
Gillett,
Aye.
Haskey. Haskey,
Yes.
Yankee,
Aye.
Kennard,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Lazansky. Massilier,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Poppy,
Aye.
Peisler,
Aye.
Ramden,
Aye.
Swago,
Nay.
Teske,
Yes.
Bullenweider,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Wilkus.
Motion carries. Moving on, consideration of ordinance read at previous board meeting. We have none. Communications, Supervisor Lucas, I keep forgetting. You're still there with us? You still awake?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Resolutions from other counties?
So from Winnebago and Washera, support the commitment to Veterans Support and Outreach CVSO Act. From Juneau and Adams, support a state Senate special session on water quality. From Bayfield, Crawford, and Dunn, to conduct countywide advisory referendum on creation of nonpartisan procedure for the preparation of legislative and congressional redistricting plans and maps.
Yes, okay. Mr. Felt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, Emergency Management Director Tracy Nolenberg did make me aware that there is an electronic collection scheduled at the fairgrounds facility for Saturday, August 22nd. For those that are interested in more information, that can be obtained from the Village of Luxembourg. And I do want to thank Mr. Weed for correcting my mistake. Yes, the Broadband Committee meeting is August 27th at 4:30 at the training room at the Public Health Human Services Building.
Okay. Any others? That's it. No comments from the chair at this time. Sorry, Kewaunee County events. Any events?
No.
Supervisor Yankee?
I'll expand on that electronics. Tracy did contact me while we were here too. It's from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. And it's on Facebook, Village of Luxembourg page. The e-cycle event is for small electronic items. And if you want any more information, call Dan Porath. It's 615-6000.
Did I see or hear something about the fat tire bike thing again? Is that going to be happening?
I haven't heard yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I know last time Supervisor Yonke was out at the lead.
Yeah.
On his Harley. All
I
right.
do have a fat bob.
Okay. Any other events? Yes, Supervisor Bastelier.
Next Wednesday, emergency management will be holding a household hazardous waste event over at Hillside Garage. Although you were supposed to be pre-registered today, there's going to be some walk-ins, I'm sure. So they'll only take certain items, and then they're going to point you to probably the recycling event that on the 22nd. So.
Okay. Any others? Supervisor Wagner.
Along that line, I did go online and registered to turn some things in at the clean sweep. How do I know I got an appointment?
I would check with Tracy just to be sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure how she
Yeah,
did all the scheduling.
Tracy was the first person I called.
Right.
She said I had to do it online, and I did that, registered the stuff I wanted to bring. And
There's no confirmation.
I didn't get anything. Okay.
I'll have Tracy give you a call back.
Okay, thank you. Or I can call her too.
Anything else? All right. No comments from the chair. Well, the only comment from the chair at this time, as I stated under finance, I've been very impressed. The committees, the work the committees are doing, supervisors very involved and really serving the county well. So I'm very glad to see that. So we go into setting meetings for the September 15th. That one is previously scheduled. You should have that on your calendars, right? And then October the 20th, that's the budget hearing and general session as well. That one is proposed. Does October 20th work? Would I have a motion for that? Where was that? Supervisor Romden? Is there a second? Supervisor Wagner? Any questions on that date? All in favor of the motion? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Then we go to November the 10th. And that would be 6 o'clock as well. Does that work for folks? Okay, do I have a motion for that? Supervisor Romden, seconded by Supervisor Dell. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Wagner, second by Supervisor Vollenweider. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Stand adjourned.